Hello, welcome back. We're going to do something a little bit different now. Have a break from the main talks and just do a little bit of a panel for you. And the subject of the panel is going to be the good, the bad, and the ugly of the talks that we've been involved in as a group. Um, the beer farmers have done a lot of talks in the last 18 months, 2 years, up and down the country, and so Sean and I are probably going to share a few of our little experiences around that. Dave's got his stuff to talk about. And obviously, Scott's relatively new to the band, but has got many stories. And so I'm going to hand it to Scott right now, and he's going to start.
Yeah, if you saw the intro card, anybody in the UK will probably be very familiar with this story. It was a fair few years ago now on the BBC. This guy turned up and he looked like he didn't belong there, and the interview was a complete train wreck. And it turned out later that he was actually just there for a job. They went into the interview room, the green room, and they said, "All right, your name's Guy. Yep, that's not a problem. Shove you in the green room." And he went on, and he was billed as this expert in Apple Music, I think, and Apple streaming services. And it turned out he was applying for a technical job at the BBC, and it turned out, he just happened to share the same first name as the other guy. The guy blagged it really, really, really well, and that kind of leads me on to something that happened to me about 3 years ago. I get booked for radio quite regularly. They phone you up and they say, "Hey, we've got this interview slot, this time. This is a topic. Here's the host. Are you comfortable?" "Yeah, that's good." And they throw you on. Well, this one particular day, a very similar situation happened to me where it was a guy called Scott on before me talking about stocks and shares and the stock market and the stock price with the current political climate, etc., etc. Unfortunately, the producer of the show switched us both round. He got this cybersecurity segment and managed to blag it pretty well. And it came to me and it was like, okay, so, here's Apple. And I'm thinking, okay, that's fine. I can talk about Apple. Their stock price has just plummeted in the last 24 hours. What do you think about it? I'm like, I don't care. I really don't care. But I had to blag it. 10 minutes of interview on national radio. And it was clear the host was like, this guy doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. And then afterwards, the producer realized the mistake and massively apologized. But for 10 minutes, somewhere out there, there's a recording of me blagging it about stocks and shares, recommending what people invest in next. Is this a good stock to invest in? I'm like, yeah, sounds great to me. Just, yeah, go for it. Whatever you think, you do you, man. That's it for 10 minutes. It's just me, just big shrug his shoulders on national TV. It was absolutely the most petrifying moment of my life being put in the spot. But I think you guys have some absolutely crackers to share.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to my first ever public talk, which was at B-Sides London in 2018. And that's not a small thing, right? But your first talk being a big B-Sides London talk. And I think I applied for a rookie talk and got thrown in on one of the main tracks, which was kind of like, oh, that's cool. Not sure I deserve this, but I'll do it anyway. So got down there, got involved in all the buzz, and met a few people I knew, and hung out and stuff, and it was really, really good fun. And then started to get more and more nervous as the day went on. I think I was on like mid-afternoon, and we were upstairs in the ILEC. I don't know if you're familiar with the venue, but on the first floor, and I was on directly after Andy Gill, Zephyrfish, who many of you will know, fairly well-known InfoSec person. And so we went up to the room to scope out and do your kind of thing, work out where you're gonna stand and what the room dynamic looks like. And we noticed something important was missing. There was no camera and no recording equipment, and we'd been told specifically that we were going to have the talks recorded, and that was a bit weird. And Andy was rather less than happy with that because he was planning to record all of his talks that year and then publish them out because he was doing a like back-to-back but different subjects at each conference that he was talking, so he wanted a record of that. In the end, he filmed his own talk on his phone, and I think he ended up with an 85 gigabyte file on his phone that he had to deal with. And then I went afterwards and had to deliver the talk, and I was petrified. Absolutely, I was stood hanging on to the desk with my PC on it, and I was just, if you'd have been close enough to me, you'd have seen me visibly moving around. and it was bad, but the talk was brilliant because once I'd got through the opening minute, 2 minutes, I was kind of in the flow of it and started to understand that people had come here because they were interested in what I was going to say, and the talk went really well. And in actual fact, when I think back on that, I'm glad it didn't get recorded because my body language was pretty terrible in there, purely down to nerves. And so I guess the point of that anecdote is that it takes a whole lot of bravery to do what our rookies have done here, which is to come onto a virtual conference with hundreds of people watching it and have it recorded. So that's an absolute credit to those people because I've been there and I had probably an easier ride than some of you people because I didn't get it recorded. There was no evidence, no video evidence of me panicking or any of that kind of stuff. So that went down quite well. A couple more quick stories. So we did a lot of the B-sides gigs as the Beer Farmers. I think mostly last year. And we did a particularly fun one at Edinburgh Napier University, and that's the Le Tour de Hack conference, which was a really well-organised conference, organised by the student community up at that particular university and some of the alumni people. But they did this, you got lunch and all that kind of stuff, and there was a very large beer rider. And for those of you who don't know what a rider is, it's something provided at a venue for people to enjoy. It's a shame Ian's not here because Ian brought a magic coat with him, and it was some kind of military jacket. And the design of it meant that you could put, well, effectively ammunition magazines all over it. And what Ian decided to do was, rather than put ammunition in there, he'd put cans of beer in there. So he went and emptied a table of beer and filled all these pockets. And I think he had around 30 cans of beer in his coat. And he was walking around like he had a problem, which clearly he did. And that was pretty much the story of the day. And then when the coat got emptied, we went back and filled it up again and walked around all the talks. Now, we gave a talk there, and it was really good. Really enjoyed it. But there was this one incident, and there was a guy giving a talk about analysing data and images, steganography. And he was doing this really detailed talk about how you only need a little part of an image, and you can then extrapolate the rest of it out into a bigger picture. And pretty fascinating, deeply technical stuff. I think the guy was a rookie himself, so probably got the rookie nerves. And then Ian, bear in mind he probably got 15 cans in at this point, opened a can and dropped it in the auditorium, but it didn't happen quietly. It exploded on the floor midway through this guy's talk, and we were in the front row as well. So just this horrible explosion. And all Ian did, and I'm not sure if it ever got recorded or not, he went, "Don't worry, I've got some more." And that happened. That's a true story. That was all Ian particularly cared about. And I think he said, "Did anyone hear that?" I think, yeah, like 150 people in the room heard it. The guy at the front talking, he heard it. People out in the university campus heard it. So that was funny. And then the last one from me really is around what happened to us at SteelCon in 2019. So we've even got video evidence of this. So go look at our YouTube channel and you'll see that we presented a brand new talk at SteelCon. So we're all quite agitated and hoping that it'd be successful. And we were on stage and we're just waiting to start the conference, literally minutes before we were going to start doing the talk. And one of the organisers, Woody, ran on and with a whiskey each, which was like Dutch courage. Why not? Yeah, we'll have some of that because Andy Gillard had a whiskey, and he didn't seem to be having any trouble. So we had this whiskey, and down in one, like you do. And Sean started struggling pretty quickly after taking this drink, and then Ian started complaining about sort of abdominal pain, and then I didn't drink it straight away. I waited until pressing go on the presentation, and then bottoms up, and then struggled and got worse, and then the hiccups started, the coughing started, the eyes started to stream, voice I went up like 5 octaves in my voice. I then couldn't see at one point, and then the laptop shit the bed and stopped working. The slide deck wouldn't work. We had a video that we were really proud of that didn't play. We had to get their IT people on stage to fix everything, reboot the laptop, and I think it ate into our talk by about 10 minutes of us just hanging around, falling apart on stage. And the reason was that the fine Japanese, 29-year-old Japanese whiskey that we thought we were drinking was actually 500,000 Scoville Naga Viper vodka. And we got spiked. And the lesson of that particular day was be careful what you drink when you're offered something at a hackers conference, right? It was pretty bad. And immediately after we'd done the talk, which went well in the end, Ian said, "I've just got to go freshen up," which was an interesting statement. What he meant was he had to go and use one of Ben's Japanese toilets in a rather urgent fashion. And I thought, oh, that's a really weird reaction. Sean got away with it, actually, pretty much. And then I got away with it until around about 6:30 in the evening when we were down at the after party and we'd eaten a bit of food, having a drink and stuff. And I thought, hang on a minute, I've got a problem. And I ran literally sideways through the building asking people where the toilet was and eventually got into the toilet. I'm not going to go into too much of the gory detail, but the upshot of that was that the security guard came and knocked on the door and said, "Are you all right, mate?" Because I was making a lot of noise. And I said, "Yeah, I'm fine, fine." And yeah, so the moral of that story is if somebody hands you a beverage at a conference, nah, get them to try it before you try it. And that's my stories, really.
Yeah, epic fail. Don't drink something you don't know where it came from. Nope.
Absolutely.
Nope. You do it first. Yeah. Your second last story there was, like Ian dropping the can of beer in the conference. My one was big kind of like countrywide roadshow thing, and I'm standing there like talking, and I think it was about like internet filtering, and if you block it there, they're still going to get to this stuff and all this, and so we're sitting there like, and I think it was like six things, six versions of this in, so it was all coming really smooth and really easy, and you didn't really, the nerves had kind of disappeared. It's still there. You're about to go on stage, but about 5 minutes in, like there's a pause, like you're flicking a slide or something like that, and then all I hear from the back is this, oh, I could listen to his accent all day. These two like elderly women sitting at the back, and it was just like perfect silent bit, just literally stopped. Nobody was saying anything, and this just floated across the back. And of course, I double take and go, like one, the talk, like, okay, yeah, and I'm sitting there going there. And then, of course, everybody in the room just turned around, and these two women just like bright red. So I think there was like I'll give you my number later. What you do is just completely, yes. Scott will obviously be able to back me up. Like Scotsman, wherever we go in the world, people love to listen to us. It's absolutely fine. But yeah, straight in the middle of my talk, and was like, "Oh, hello, right? That's what do you do to that?" And you just like going, carry on regardless, because there's nothing else you can do. And then let's get back to talking about internet filtering. And so yeah, absolutely brutal, but completely boom. And I think, and in a talk, random stuff does happen, and when you're standing there, you just have to deal with it. I mean, you look, Ben had the weird Zoom issues before, and the man dealt with it and then went on like a trooper. He's been really nervous all week and stuff like that about doing it. Last couple of weeks, we've been giving him like mentoring sessions and like, just sitting going through it. And within 5 minutes, he was like, "Don't running absolutely through it." And you would never have guessed that Ben, this was his first talk. And all the rookies of that, I mean, all the mentoring sessions and stuff we've been doing with them and stuff like that, you're just sitting there going, a couple of them have actually just turned and sitting going, "Are you sure you've not done this before?" Because the quality of the talks and the way everything is absolutely perfect. And I know all the rookies are sitting there just now going, "All right, I'm coming up, and oh God, I need to wait till tomorrow," and stuff like that. But they're all doing absolutely fantastically. I mean, they're all super prepped, way more prepped than I have. I mean, I doubt anybody in this room hasn't been editing the slides in 15 minutes before you're actually going on. I mean, you're sitting there going that if somebody says, "I haven't edited my slides 3 hours before going on," you're a liar, or you've never done any talks. And then you can sit there going that I've literally been editing my slides as I go up onto the stage. I mean, literally, I'm like, Guy is talking on before me, and we're going, "Are you ready to go up there?" And I'm like, "Just in a minute, just a minute." You're like, it happens. But honestly, the rookies are amazing. They're all super prepped. They're like doing like tiny little tweaks, and you're sitting going, they're looking to you for advice, going, what should I change? And you're like, nothing. These are the amazing talks that are coming up for the rest of the couple of days. I mean, the one time I've been super prepped, it was like 2.5 months before the engagement. It was one of the InfoSec month sort of things, and like we were doing a joint talk with a bunch of people and stuff like that. And they sat and said, right, can you do something on incident response and like why you should plan for it and stuff like that. And I had like, as soon as he said, I was like, right, fine, you guys are going to talk about that. I'll do this bit, you do that bit. And then I went, done. And actually, inside 48 hours, my slides were done. I actually sat there and forgot about it for like a month and a half. And people were emailing me backwards and forwards saying, you need anything? I'm like, no, completely prepped. I am, for once, completely ready. And then the day before, they said, can you send over the slides? Oh, by the way, they need to be an 800 by 600 to go on our projector. And I'm like, hang on, sorry, did you say 800 by 600? And they're like, yeah, it's quite an old projector we've got in the boardroom where we're doing it. And I'm like, right, okay. And then I kind of turn around and goes, well, I've got the old branding on my slides anyway. I should use the new branding if I'm going to be redoing any slides. And so I pull the template across from the marketing people. I'm like, yeah. And he said, look at it and going, you try and put an 800 by 600 and you're just sitting on the little watermarks and stuff that you've got in the back of your like presentation are like halfway across the screen or not even making it onto the screen anymore. And you're like, what am I? And you're saying, I actually like credit to the marketing person at the time, and she knows who she is. But she actually turned and said, look, I need to do this talk. Everything's done. I know what it is, but I have to try and somehow fit all this stuff on, and I need 800 by 600. She did a double take, and then in like 45 minutes, I have no idea how she made it, but it looked proper. She probably did something in Photoshop more than anything, but it was just how did you make it still look like a normal presentation, but in 800 by 600? But yeah, everybody is still, I know they see everyone in Slack going, all right, I'm changing this, I'm changing that, saying going, rookies have got this like completely covered for the next couple of days, and it's going to be awesome.
So I'm gonna make mine really quick because I like only have 2 minutes left.
Sorry.
No, it's gonna be quick anyway. So I probably did the most cardinal sin of talking live demo. Yeah. My very first live demo was an absolute train wreck, and I vowed on that day that I would never do it ever again. And I should have actually stuck to it, because I went on to do another live demo probably a few months later or years later, and it worked really well. I could do it in like several talks, and it like went well. So like, you know what? I actually got this live demo stuff, and great. So coming up for Abate this year, and I was like, I've got this live demo stuff down to a T. I'm sorted. I'm going to do a really good job. Yeah, I didn't take into account that I would be presenting on a screen behind me, and it was also an assumption that, the Wi-Fi will just do whatever you need, and there'll be phone signal. And yeah, my word of advice, if you're doing a live demo, record it. And don't assume because a live demo's gone right before, it will go right again. It's just the demo gods messing around with you and trying to entice you a bit.
Here's the thing though, B-Sides Newcastle on my track, there was one guy that did like 37 demos. Like it was 37 little mini demos live. Every single one of them worked perfectly. I was sweating buckets the entire time going, I don't like doing live demos on local stuff because like my handles slip. I'll put an extra, like even the keyboard, like I'll type totally differently. Wow, he did it. He nailed 37 demos, and at the end he just came up and he was like, "Yeah, it was live demos. Yeah, I don't have a problem." I'm like, you have balls the size of melons, is what you have. But no, Dave's absolutely right. The the content purely based on the titles and the descriptions, and then we were actually getting to see them or see little snippets, because we don't get to see any of the mentoring stuff. Wow, so far amazing talks lined up. Everybody's super cool. Massive shout out to Dave for joining us and being an awesome mentor and part of this. Yeah.
Fantastic. All right, guys, thanks for that. Hopefully that's been interesting, maybe even a little funny in places as well. We're going to cut that now, and we're going to be back in 5 minutes with our next speaker. So thank you very much.